Hello, this is Bichelin. Today I don't have much time to ramble on because my wife and child are a bit sick at home, so I'll quickly get to the main part of the video. Currently, Bitcoin is struggling due to several threatening issues: the Middle East war, U.S. employment, U.S. port union strikes, China's economic stimulus measures. I've prepared a video that provides different perspectives and data to correct some of the information that many media outlets and YouTubers are reviewing about these four issues. Let's get started right away. First, let's talk about the Middle East war. Most media outlets are covering the fear surrounding the war, and some Bitcoin YouTube channels are trying to reassure people, saying not to worry and that a rebound is coming. I can't say for sure whether there will be a rebound or not, but it's important to fully understand this issue. By the end of this, you'll have gained some insights into the war, so let's dive into it in an engaging way. First, to get a proper insight into this war, you'll need some background knowledge. Please bear with me as I use a bit of direct and everyday language with some strong expressions to help explain things clearly. Iran and Israel weren't always countries that had a bad relationship. The relationship between the two began to deteriorate in 1989 when a new leader emerged in Iran. From 1989, Ayatollah Khamenei, who started governing Iran, was not only deeply devoted to Islam, but was a fanatic. After becoming the leader, he began turning Iran into a strictly Islamic state. It was also after Khamenei took power that Iranian women started wearing hijabs regularly. In Islam, there are two main sects, Shia and Sunni. Just like Christianity, where churches and cathedrals differ in practice, Islam also has distinct sects with their own characteristics. The new leader of Iran believed that even among the Islamic sects, Shia was the best, and he wanted the entire Middle East to follow the Shia Islam that he trusted. The only country in the Middle East that doesn't follow Islam is Israel. Israel is a nation of people commonly known as Jews, who practiced Judaism. To Khamenei, the leader of Iran who was so devoted to Islam, Israel seemed like the devil. As you all know, Israel has close ties with the Western countries, including the United States. When news broke that Iran was developing nuclear weapons, Western countries conveyed their criticism and pressure on Iran's nuclear program through Israel. How do you think Khamenei of Iran reacted? He probably thought, wow, now the devil is even meddling in our affairs? I need to get rid of them. However, Iran and Israel are geographically distant countries. To send tanks and troops for an attack, they would need to cross this long distance, but the countries in between had no desire to fight with Israel, so they didn't cooperate by allowing passage for war between the two. So the idea Iran came up with was to support military groups near Israel and have them fight on its behalf. Through armed groups that frequently appear in the news like Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels, Iran has continuously harassed Israel. Officially, Iran denies any connection with Hamas, Hezbollah, and the Houthi rebels. From Israel's perspective, it's infuriating. Groups like Hamas and Hezbollah are not even recognized as proper countries, but rather small terrorist organizations. When they attack, Israeli citizens and land are harmed, but retaliating against them leads to an endless, pointless war against fragmented cells. Israel felt the need to strike Iran's mainland, but Iran kept denying any involvement, which only made Israel more frustrated. Then, Hezbollah misread the situation and provoked Israel, leading Israel to unleash all the pent-up anger it had been holding back against Hezbollah. You can see how much anger had built up by looking at the scale of damage Israel inflicted on Hezbollah throughout modern history. From 1982 to 1984, during the early stages of the Israel-Lebanon conflict, Hezbollah fatalities were estimated to be fewer than 300. Between 1985 and 1986, during the southern Lebanese resistance, the number was under 100. In the guerrilla warfare from 1987 to 1988, around 50 were killed. From 1989 to 1990, there were about 50 casualties. In the 2006 Second Lebanon War, over 500 Hezbollah members were killed. In the 2011 border clashes, fewer than 50 died. And in the most recent conflict in 2024, over 564 Hezbollah members have been reported dead so far. In this recent conflict, among the 564 casualties, more than 30 were senior commanders of Hezbollah's military organization. They were hiding in a bunker 7 stories underground, but Israel dropped over 100 bunker busters at 2-second intervals, completely wiping them out. By looking at the sheer number of fatalities, it is clear that Israel was fully determined this time. After Israel devastated Hezbollah, Iran, which had consistently denied any connection with the group, finally responded in a way that effectively acknowledged its relationship with Hezbollah. On October 1st, Iran launched around 180 missiles toward Israel. However, most of these missiles were intercepted by Israel's missile defense system, disappearing in the air before they could even reach Israeli soil. However, Iran's state-run media reported that most of the missiles they launched had landed in Israel, causing significant damage. That's right. Israel has continuously strengthened its military with support from Western nations, making the conflict between Iran and Israel less of a war and more of a one-sided beating, given the significant difference in military power and combat capability. Iran, on the other hand, lacks the military strength to engage in a full-scale war against Israel. This missile attack on Israeli soil presented Israel with a golden opportunity to strike at Iran's core for the first time in 30 years. What do you think about that? The relationship between these two countries is reminiscent of the relationship between North and South Korea, with Israel being similar to South Korea in its alliance with the United States. North Korea, which views the U.S. as the devil, is similar to Iran in that both frequently launch missiles but fail to cause significant damage due to their relatively weak military power. They also resemble each other in how their domestic media portrays their actions as if they inflicted massive damage, even though that's far from the truth. Iran shares another similarity with North Korea. Despite being a country rich in natural resources like oil, its citizens are suffering from hunger. Recently, even the middle class has been facing malnutrition, a severe issue in the 21st century. Now, let's summarize what we've discussed so far. Iran hates Israel, but it is clear that if they engage in a fight, they will definitely lose due to the significant military power difference. On top of that, the Iranian citizens are starving, and if the economy does not recover soon, the nation may face collapse. Israel, on the other hand, has the opportunity to teach a lesson to a troublemaker. They possess overwhelming strength compared to this troublemaker and have a brotherly alliance with the United States. A friend with overwhelming power doesn't necessarily need to crush the troublemaker completely, right? Attacking oil facilities and disrupting global order would not only harm relationships with allies, but also strain ties with the U.S., especially with the elections approaching. The Israeli Prime Minister sent a message to the Iranian people in a public broadcast, stating that freedom will soon come. It seems that the Israeli military intends to deliver a swift and decisive response without dragging things out. The conflict between the two countries certainly doesn't seem like a light incident, as it might have been in the past. However, the likelihood of it escalating into something as massive as a world war appears to be low. That said, given the long-standing tensions between the two nations, it's not something to be taken lightly. Therefore, we should approach Bitcoin investments with caution during this time. The second issue is the U.S. economic recession. Since August, concerns about a recession have been consistently present. Jeffrey Gundlach, the legendary bond king, has warned that a shadow of recession is looming over the U.S., repeatedly raising fears in the market. During the 2008 to 2012 financial crisis, bond funds had an average annual return of 10% compared to the market average of 7%. From 2010 to 2019, bond funds yielded an average annual return of 5.5%, market average of 3%. He accurately predicted the 2014 to 2016 elections and interest rates. During the 2020 pandemic, bond funds achieved a 4.3% return. Given Jeffrey Gundlach's top-tier ability to predict recessions in the bond market, his warnings cannot be easily ignored by the market. However, the data doesn't seem to warrant much concern at the moment. Recent employment data shows a steady decrease in unemployment, while new job creation continues to rise, indicating that the job market is stabilizing. This data reflects the after-tax profits of U.S. companies, showing that they have consistently been making substantial profits even after taxes. With healthy businesses, rising employment, and inflation stabilizing, it seems a bit premature to worry about a recession at this point. If there's any concern, it might be about liquidity issues, but that too could be alleviated as interest rates gradually come down. Therefore, I believe that employment and recession fears may not pose significant issues for the future price of Bitcoin. The third issue is the U.S. port workers' strike. Port workers in the U.S. have gone on strike, which naturally disrupts imports and exports, leading to significant economic damage. Fortunately, according to government research, even if imports and exports are halted for 1 or 2 weeks due to the strike, companies can continue production and operations by relying on existing inventory. However, if the strike lasts more than 2 weeks, JP Morgan estimates that the economic loss could accumulate to about $7 trillion per day. What is the Taft-Hartley Act? The Taft-Hartley Act, enacted in 1947 in the United States, is a law designed to restrict the activities of labor unions and regulate labor management relations. However, the U.S. president has the authority to temporarily halt strikes through this act. If President Joe Biden enforces the Taft-Hartley Act, workers will be required to return to their positions and continue working for 80 days. However, enforcing this act could lead to strong backlash from the workers and unions. You would have to endure the strong backlash from workers and union members, right? Out of the 36 ports where the port union is currently on strike, the 3 largest ports handle the majority of the shipments. 1. The Port of New York and New Jersey. 2. The Port of Houston. 3. The Port of Savannah. These ports are located in New York and New Jersey, Texas, and Georgia, respectively. New York and New Jersey are Democratic strongholds, Texas is a solid Republican base, and Georgia is currently a swing state in the upcoming presidential election. Since interfering could risk significant political damage, especially in the final stages of the election, both candidates seem hesitant to get involved. The Democratic Party will likely put all its effort into mediating the conflict between labor and management. Given the scale of the U.S. economy, this issue isn't large enough to escalate unnecessarily, and their stance seems to be focused on preventing any unnecessary complications. The fourth and final topic is the news about China's massive economic stimulus plan. There's talk that China is injecting $1.35 trillion into its economy, and some local YouTubers are already hyping up a Bitcoin surge. So, I took a more detailed look into the situation. Let's break it down together. China is said to be injecting $1.35 trillion into its economy, but it's not like they're depositing that money directly into everyone's bank accounts. So what's really important here? The key is whether China's policies will inject money into the crypto market, driving demand. We need to look at how much this stimulus will actually put more money into the hands of regular people, giving them more financial flexibility. That means we need to focus on which parts of China's stimulus package will directly impact the average person. Does this really make a difference? When people are struggling just to make ends meet, the idea of paying 10% less on a new apartment down payment doesn't really hit home. The central bank is lowering the reserve requirement by 0.5% to reduce interest rates. It still doesn't resonate with me. Here are various other policies, but the one that has the most direct impact on everyday people is the reduction of mortgage rates for existing homes. In essence, this means lowering the interest rate on loans people have already taken to buy houses. A reduction of 50 basis points, or 0.5%, is being offered, so I looked into how effective this might be. In China, cities like Beijing and Shanghai are considered major metropolitan areas, much like the affluent neighborhoods of Beverly Hills or Manhattan in the U.S. In addition, there are second- and third-tier cities. Most of the working-class population lives in these areas. When I looked up the average price of homes suitable for a family of 4 in these second- and third-tier cities, it turns out, assuming the loan amount is 1 million yuan, approximately $135,000, and it's taken out with a 30-year term, if the interest rate is lowered by 50 basis points. When calculated using the equal principal and interest repayment method, the monthly payment would decrease from $337.50 to $281.25, resulting in a savings of about $56.25 per month. I wonder if this amount is enough to significantly improve the lives of the average citizens. There is a global Big Mac index used by the British magazine The Economist to compare the cost of living worldwide based on the price of a Big Mac hamburger sold at McDonald's. In China, the price of a Big Mac is approximately $3.40, while in South Korea, it is around $3.93, showing a difference of about 15%. With China's recent economic stimulus, the interest saved amounts to around $56. When adjusted for U.S. prices, this translates to roughly $65. Would an additional $65 per month significantly change your life? This economic stimulus in China has had a tremendous impact, particularly benefiting the country's wealthiest individuals. According to the Bloomberg Billionaires Index, the top 54 richest people in China have collectively earned around $128 billion as a result of this policy, all without much effort. Jack Ma, the founder of Alibaba Group, reportedly gained around $36 billion as a result of the recent economic stimulus plan. Following the announcement of this plan, luxury fashion brands like Louis Vuitton and Christian Dior, as well as high-end liquor brands such as Hennessy and Dom Perignon, along with watch brands like Bulgari and Tag Heuer, which are owned by the LVMH group, saw a surge in stock value. According to Bloomberg, the market capitalization of LVMH increased by $26 billion. Of course, the stimulus package will gradually have a positive impact on the market, but the idea that all 1.4 billion people in China will suddenly flood the market seems somewhat exaggerated and overstated. Have you ever seen a channel that digs into data and delivers such detailed insights? If it's your first time here, please hit the subscribe button, and you'll keep seeing more content like this in the future. So, let's summarize and wrap up today's content. The war between Iran and Israel. Israel now has a reason to unleash its long-held frustrations after 30 years. However, with the U.S. presidential election on the horizon, and considering its alliance with the U.S., it's unlikely Israel will attack oil facilities and cause global chaos. That said, this is not a conflict to be taken lightly, and caution is definitely needed. There are still concerns about a possible recession in the U.S., but employment and corporate earnings data show that both are healthy and recovering. As for the U.S. port union strike, the three major ports involved are key battlegrounds for the upcoming presidential election. Because of this, the White House is likely to focus on actively mediating between labor and management rather than enforcing strong measures. China's large-scale economic stimulus package, despite its announced size, is expected to have a minimal short-term impact on the Bitcoin market. So, what is the final conclusion? For those investing in Bitcoin and altcoins for the long term, there don't appear to be any major red flags to worry about. However, since the war issue is not something to be taken lightly, it wouldn't hurt to be cautious about short-term adjustments. I will make sure to upload videos more frequently so you won't have to wait long anymore. I apologize to those of you who have been waiting. Thank you for watching today. If you enjoyed the content, please don't forget to leave a like or comment. This was Bichelin.